Hello, hello, and hello again. Welcome back to First Fridays with Finn Formica. This will be my second episode ever, and I'm honored to have Eric Easy Myers and Kristin Lyn, friends of mine, from the band Ladyship Warship. As most of you know by now, I call it First Fridays because it coincides with our events that we do at Flamingo Vintage with my lovely girlfriend, who is the owner and CEO in Southwest Detroit. It's a vintage clothing store, and we do shows there every first Friday of the month. I will also be airing these episodes every first Friday of the month. So, I want to talk about a lot of things, but I just want to get to the interview, and this is High Water by Ladyship Warship, and stay tuned after the podcast because their other band, Warhorses, which are about to do their 100th show, I will be playing one of their songs afterwards. Enjoy. All right, well, welcome back to First Fridays with Finn Formica. I'm with two people I truly admire, Easy Myers and Kristin Lyn from Ladyship Warship and Warhorses. And like I said, this is my second podcast ever, and I'm honored to have y'all.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. Welcome.
The sophomore effort.
Well, it is the sophomore effort, yeah. Right? I'm trying to make it the senior year, but we'll see what happens on that. But you know, I really wanted to focus on, of course, y'all are playing our first Friday at Flamingo Vintage at my girlfriend's shop, and I wanted to kind of coincide interviews with what I'm doing there. And so if you guys just want to kind of talk about, you know, your music and what's happening right now, and, you know, I'd like to interview real Detroiters and people that grew up here and know the scene and have been a part of the scene for a number of years, and this show's pure Detroit for me. And so if you guys just kind of want to lay it out and talk about how you guys met and family and music and all the things, I'm gonna let y'all run with it. So
how we met? That was kind of fun. It was at the Painted Lady
in Hamtramck.
Yeah, at a show for I don't know, for anyone that might remember, Angry Red Planet was a punk rock band in the 80s, which was, to me, the coolest band because they weren't hardcore. They weren't, I don't know, they were like more in the Minutemen, Fire Hose kind of, that sort of, you know, I guess what eventually became alternative, but they were, you know, pretty fast and hard. And anyway, this guy, Tim, you know, who was the brains of that operation, I've been friends with him ever since those days and played in a couple bands with him. So I was living in New York, and Tim had a string band, and they were playing at the Painted Lady. I was in town for a wedding, and Kristin.
Yeah. I was coming after Warhorses rehearsal. Yeah, the band had just started, and Eric was in a band with Mike from Warhorses, who we were the founding members, or actually he was the founding member and asked me to be his drummer, and he's now my singer.
Nod to Charlie Watts.
That was a nod to Charlie Watts.
Yeah, 100%. Good news. Good news.
Rest in power.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, so I was there. They were like, "Oh, you got to meet our friend Eric from New York," and you know, I was freshly single at the time, and just the stars lined up for us, and we met that night. We hit it off. It was the summer solstice. Yeah. Joey Kramer's birthday, was it?
Oh, wow.
Continuing the drummer theme here.
Right, 100%.
Yeah.
I like Charlie a little better than Joey Kramer.
So yeah, we hit it
yeah.
off. He was so he was in a band with Mike in New York, and
Mike.
When Mike moved back to Detroit, he started Warhorses, and I didn't know Eric at the time. He was in. So when Mike left to New York, Eric stayed there for a number of years.
Right.
And had a band out there called Wussy. They were just amazing power pop trio.
I guess you guys had told me that through this courtship, you were traveling to New York, or you guys were both traveling to see each other.
Yeah.
Mostly, I was coming back to Detroit.
It was long.
Right.
He was only
There
in
you go.
town for the weekend. Yeah, so we had a quick weekend together. We hung out. Mike had a party the next day, and we hung out for that weekend, and then we just talked. That was actually when texting first started, and we were texting.
Well, for us,
we weren't really texting anybody at the
like wait, you can
really
send a
texting.
text on this.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was like
Exactly.
it was like just the start
wow.
of like
A flip phone
smartphones.
fantasy?
Yeah, and BlackBerry.
Is that
I
what
ended up
happened?
getting him
It
a
was,
BlackBerry.
Nokia.
Yeah, we're going like
Right. I had one of
dating it
those.
way back here.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
back machine.
so we talked on the phone a lot. We texted, and then we would go back and forth every couple of weeks. And
And-
Warhorses needed a bass player at the time. We were kind of in transition, and he's an amazing guitar player, but he can play the bass like nobody's business. I do
Right.
miss playing bass with him, but anyway, so we needed a bass player, and he tells me, he's like, next time I come to town, like, don't say anything, but just bring me to rehearsal, tell him you found a bass player. And,
Right.
and they played together, so they were just like, oh my God, this is yes, so anyway.
Okay, so when are you moving back to Detroit?
Played.
And I'm like, okay. It was time. New York was getting expensive, and gigs there for me were drying up quickly.
Right.
As were rock and roll clubs. And,
Right.
Everything was drying up.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't the New York I moved to in the '90s. It was fun for a while, but
I get that. I lived there in the mid-'90s, as you know.
Yeah,
we talked
you
about
were
that. In Brooklyn.
in Brooklyn.
Yeah, in Flatbush. And then, so with the Warhorses and, piggybacking off that, I guess I saw you guys were having your 100th show that's coming up. So
we are.
Yeah.
We weren't really counting until
until
actually
COVID.
Yeah.
And we had to cancel the show and just because
the
we
one
had a
and
lot of
only
time on
show
our
we've
hand.
ever canceled.
Yeah.
Like, we've been playing shows for over a decade and realized at that point that we had never been late. Thankfully, we had never missed a show. We've like soldiered on and played every show that we booked and
Most punctual
until
band in
COVID,
rock.
and then so then he started. Of course, COVID. Everyone was just doing weird. We were like.
You got a lot of time
Taking
to
our
do
vinyl
a lot
collection,
of things you never thought
alphabetizing,
you
so
would
we
care about. But
Started
yeah.
counting our shows and kind of figuring out when we played, and we're
Right.
like, wow, that was supposed to be our 100th show, and we didn't realize it, so it was almost kind of cool because now we could make a thing about it. Yeah, it's our 100th show.
Right.
Now that we're made aware. So,
Well,
but yeah, that's September 17th on
Yeah.
Friday night at Smalls. So
Yeah, I saw that.
yeah, come on out.
Yeah. We're gonna.
We're doing a covers cassette, so we spent the whole like pandemic doing a lot of cover songs that some we'd played live in our set before, but a lot of new ones that Laughing Hyenas. We were supposed to do a cover
Wow.
as the Laughing Hyenas
Detroit.
for this.
Right, yeah.
Was it Detroit by Detroit? It's
Detroit.
like a thing that happens normally every year, maybe the past 5 years or so, where like they have this event where they have all Detroit bands covering other Detroit bands,
Right.
and you play like 3 songs. And
That's
so
sick.
we were lined up. Warhorses were lined up to be the Laughing Hyenas.
Because nobody had done the Hyenas.
Yeah, we're like,
Right.
no one's covered
Nobody
the
was
Hyenas.
brave
No
enough
one's
or
brave
dumb
enough.
enough.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hyenas.
I don't know. Yeah, we're like, is he gonna watch? And
Right.
no, but we just
Well, you guys
love their
kick ass.
music.
I'm sure it's gonna kick ass.
It's,
I can't wait.
We're so those songs are just amazing, and we put our as much of a spin of our own as we could, being true to the original. And so anyway, we put
So
that one
September
on there.
10th, that'll be out.
That'll get
Right.
rescheduled sometime, but
There
we
you
did,
go.
We did put one on the cassette, so
Right.
we have one of the Hyenas tunes.
Well, once this interview, of course, when I air it, as I said, I'm trying to figure the things out with
Yeah.
editing and stuff like that. We're gonna have a couple tracks from y'all and be able to hear it and everything like that.
Oh yeah, well yeah.
I guess to go back to things, maybe talk about growing up here and what Detroit was like for you guys, and how you kind of began to play music, individually, or obviously we've talked collectively what you guys did, but.
He goes way back in the scene. He's
Yeah, I know. We
playing
talked
since
earlier. I was
yeah.
fascinated. We
Well,
did an interview before the interview,
Yeah,
so I was
the
pretty excited
pre-interview,
about
hopefully,
that. So.
Hopefully we can capture some of that. But
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have an older brother who was really into music, and he wanted to start playing guitar. So, you know, I wanted to start playing guitar too.
Right.
He was 15, I was 10. So at that point, you know, like, yeah, I wanted to be cool like my big brother and listen to his records, and he had been bringing home all kinds of stuff. But also between that and just growing up in Detroit, where if you're a kid like me that didn't sleep much, you know, and you have a radio, and you might have, you know, little earbuds, primitive earbuds or headphones.
Right. Yeah, Walkman.
You know, that radio is on all the time,
Right,
and especially at night, you know. Lots of different stuff's coming out.
King Biscuit flour.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, just, you know, hearing some of the original, you know, radio aces from WABX would be, you know, on after 11 or midnight on, you know, like Sunday night or something. You could hear, his name is escaping me now. I actually got to meet him once, but just hearing the not the regular heavy rock rotation stuff, you know, like Stairway to Heaven again, or, you know, Freebird, but hearing like different stuff, and also like hearing, you know, the Stooges and hearing MC5, which stuff that you weren't going to hear during the day, so you'd hear that stuff. And also growing up where there was a cool record store called Full Moon Records, where, you know, I was just exposed to all kinds of stuff there, you know, like I can't even really recall the first time I heard Stooges or MC5. It was always there. And then pepper that with, you know, being in Detroit and just hearing stuff coming out of the cars and hearing, you know, P-Funk and all sorts of just, you know. And obviously with my family, you know, Motown was huge.
Right,
so
of course.
Everybody in my family loved Motown, you know. And, but it's such a rich history here with music.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. It's so it was cool. And even when I realized it more when I moved to New York, and people were like, wow, you know, where I grew up in, you know, some whatever town that might have been from New Jersey or somebody from, you know, some random place in Pennsylvania or Connecticut, you know, it seems so exotic to them. Like, wow, Detroit, this magical land of this great music. And it's like,
It is magic.
I guess it was, but you know,
Still
you're
is,
in
always
it, you
will
know,
when you're in
be,
it,
so.
you don't necessarily
you know, but then when I was
appreciate it,
removed from
That's
it,
why I
go,
got you
yeah,
guys
it
here.
was.
So. Right now.
Yeah, so it
Yeah.
was
Anyway.
cool. So, you know, and the thing with Detroit, it was like it's always got to be legit. It's always got to be from the heart. Stuff that's fake, stuff that's forced doesn't really play well here, you know.
No, not at all.
And you know, that's where the Kick Out the Jams came from, was, you know, those basically the MC5 heckling, you know, the British bands that would come in and be, you know, probably with their puffy sleeves and
Right.
they're posing around and not really, you know, rocking to the Detroit standard of what rock and roll should be.
Right.
So,
Sweating it out.
Yeah, no
yeah,
doubt.
it's supposed to be sweaty.
Yeah.
There's a little too much air conditioning now, I think. I know you like air conditioning. I'm sorry.
Not when I
but
play though. I like, you know,
I
I don't want to, you know, be sweltering,
gotta
but
be
yeah.
I've seen you guys play, get a
Yeah.
little sweaty. I love it.
Little
man.
bit,
Yeah,
So,
I'm
yeah.
a fan, you know.
right.
Sweat a little bit, yeah.
I could sweat more. But
I think the foundation here, from what I've seen, moving here a couple of years ago, and loving Detroit, and you know, all the more better that I got here.
so glad.
There's
you-
so
you
many
do.
great bands that are
We're
here.
glad to have you.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. So I'm
Yeah.
glad to have you're gonna make me blush. I
I appreciate
appreciate it.
that.
So
It is. I've
As a
been meeting
son-
more people that say they've moved here, which is really cool. Because
Right.
when we were younger, like nobody moved to Detroit.
Right.
You know, it wasn't a
Right.
thing.
Yeah, when we were in elementary school and somebody would get transferred in, it was like, oh, sorry. You know, because it just was like, it just seemed like such a gloomy place, and
Right.
and winters seems long and gray and depressing and full of snow. But it's also like, okay, that gives you time to woodshed it and get your act together and practice and get better at your instrument, right? Or, you know, if you're anything in life, you know, it's, you know,
I love
time
the
to
seasons,
buckle
yeah.
down and,
Yeah, me
and
too.
get serious. You know, and every day is not a day at the beach here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, it's rough. It can be rough for a lot
and we
of
have
folks.
all the fresh water in this state, so
Yeah,
You do.
no sharks.
Well, there you go. Well, it's a rarity. As a black man, I guess I love the cold weather, so I guess it's fit perfect for me. But obviously, since the 50s, and so much soul and blues and everything that moved here and those kind of things. But knowing a little bit of the history of Detroit, you know what I mean? I love it. And it's funny, I've rarely gotten, you know, talking about what you were talking about, nobody moved to Detroit, you know, some years back, but I've rarely gotten like, oh, you moved to Detroit, and they're like, why? You know what I mean? Most people are like, hey, you know, very welcoming, and there's just so much going on here musically. I've met so many incredible people here in the last 2 years, present company included, of course. And
we get it now. We've
right
been around
now.
enough where we appreciate, like we appreciate it now. Like you said
Right.
before, it was like maybe you didn't think about it as much, but now that we've been around enough and been to different places, we're like, this is a badass fucking town.
Hell yeah, it is. It's real fucking rad. I don't know, I moved here, of course, being my girlfriend has a vintage clothing store in Southwest, and she's with us today. But I'm not going to embarrass her over there. She's blushing.
She's the
but,
bomb.
She's not on camera, so.
What? She's not. Thank God none of us are, and, once again, coinciding with the First Fridays, and you guys have played the shop and stuff. But, people earn it here. You know what I mean? And I really love that. You got to... There is no fake here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And,
You gotta want it.
and you get weeded out if you are.
What's funny,
Oh,
somewhat, hopefully this isn't too much of a tangent, but I was working in a shop with this guy who was living in Highland Park, and I always have my music going on shuffle,
Right.
which is a kind of a weird development in recent years that, we used to just pop on a record. Now you're hearing all kinds of stuff. So Sun House comes up on my shuffle.
You kidding me? It's beautiful.
And my coworker is like, wow, what is this? He's He's like, that's my girlfriend's name. And I said, really? I said, maybe. And it turns out that was Sun House was her great uncle.
Holy shit.
And he's like, here's this, this white kid I'm working with.
What? Yeah.
Like, but I'm like, that's Detroit. It's like he was playing gigs in Highland Park. I think he was working at some shop, and he was still playing, I forget the bar, but it's like, it's, it's such a crazy, like, this was a guy that taught Robert Johnson how to play guitar.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, this is all part of the fabric that makes up this city.
Right.
You couple that with, on the other end, like Motown, which was trying to be, I want to get my artists in movies and TV. I want them to be superstars. Was a whole different ball game than somebody playing, juke joint blues kind of music and stuff.
Right.
So, you couple that with, throw in some Iggy and MC5, and it's just like, yeah, it's so cool. I loved New York, but in
punk
New York,
scene
everybody that
great.
was cool from New York most of them really weren't from New York.
Right,
They all
yeah.
came to New York.
Like L.A.
Yeah,
I
mean, all the bands I liked that were from New York. I mean, even like, Richard Hell was from Ohio. He wasn't like, maybe Jim Carroll's the exception. I don't know Jim Carroll. But,
yeah, of course.
But yeah, I mean, I'm sure there are people that were born and raised there, but there's something like very, I don't know, Detroit can be kind of provincial at times, but I think with good reason.
Yeah.
It's a place no one has to drive through to get anywhere else.
Right.
So if you're here for a reason.
Yeah.
And you either, you're here for work, or you're here because there's some great music to be heard.
100.
So
100%.
Yeah.
Well, Kristin, you want to talk about you? He's taking over. How about
Yeah,
that?
he's, I said he could talk all night long.
I know. Thank God. This is my second one. But you growing up in Detroit,
Yeah.
and
I grew up downriver, actually.
Right,
So,
yeah.
I didn't start playing shows till I was in my 30s, though. So I was, home-based basement musician for a long time. I had kids when I was younger. So
right, of course.
Younger, I was 22, so I felt like a baby. But
Right.
so anyway, he actually kind of got me. The reason I'm in Warhorses because I took him, my oldest son, to a guitar lesson. He wanted to take guitar lessons. I was playing drums on my own at home, just jamming, doing my thing. And
but you're a kick-ass drummer, which like I said
well,
before.
thanks.
Yeah,
and I was like, well, I'm going to take a drum lesson. Then while I'm sitting at this half-hour studio, I may as well make the most of my time instead of just sitting there waiting. So anyway, the guy I was working with, Mike Falzon, was actually Eric's old drummer.
Yeah.
He's since passed away. He was a badass drummer, great person.
Sorry to hear that.
But yeah, we didn't know each other together, Eric, and so I didn't know Eric at the time I was taking these lessons, but that's how Mike found me because they were friends. Mike from Warhorses.
Right.
So he was like, "Yeah, she's awesome. Like, we need a drummer." So they asked me to played their music for me from Warhorses, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I love it. And we just like kind of went with it. But I was like in my 30s at that time.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but I grew up and, you know, going to the city and seeing shows. It's my favorite pastime was to go see live music, you know. So I'd go see the Laughing Hyenas and, you know, go to the Shelter and go to Latin Quarter was a cool place to see shows.
Right.
Yeah, it was a cool place to grow up in. And once I realized other places weren't like this, you know, I just kind of took it for granted for a while, not realizing how cool it is here. And but yeah, I've seen some amazing shows over the years. Some, you know, the Cult at the Latin Quarter was one that comes to mind, right? It's like this little club, you know.
Right.
But yeah, it's a great town. Great town for music.
I missed the Cult at Paychecks.
Oh, yeah, you could just see,
which is now the Sanctuary.
Right, yeah.
The Cult played there. I think it was 84.
Yeah.
I think, but anyway.
Yeah, the Sanctuary's cool. I've been there, I guess, once before I got here.
Yeah, so it's been revamped,
yeah, I moved here, then the fucking world fell apart. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but...
yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Well, you know, ours didn't. We're hanging on.
Yeah, we hung on.
We're making sure it hasn't ended.
Right.
Yeah. Well, having our duo, the Ladyship Warship, totally made it... I mean, we just dove into that because, you know, we're on lockdown together, so let's just get creative. So we had a really good lockdown. We wrote a COVID cover tune even.
Yes.
We got...
I think, too, you know, what you're saying about the creativity, excuse me, is, you know, this is going to be a blessing in a lot of ways when things are, like, obviously things are back, you know 90%, you know, but I think
the dust will settle and
but there's just so many things where people have just been kind of together or you know, kind of within each other and lockdown. You know what I mean? There's just going to be so much beautiful music and art and creativity that is happening now.
Yeah, some people I think we're a little
you need to be around people, so it's really important.
Right,
about going out. But, you know, when we had the Hampshire Music Fest, 3 weeks ago or 2 weeks ago.
It's been 3 weeks
It was
now.
good to see people out. And,
it was.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people were congregating outside.
Right.
You know, but
we saw you guys. You know, me and my girlfriend. You guys fucking killed it. So that was great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But
that was a fun set. Fun set.
Hopefully, with more shows, we got a few coming up that are inside. The Flamingo show, it's inside, but it's, you know.
There's a new place opening up. I think we can spill the beans on because he's got it public already. It's going to be a non-alcoholic bar and coffee place, but it's going to be a live music venue, and it's really close to our house. It's in Oak Park, but it's called Berkeley Coffee.
Berkeley Coffee?
Yeah,
cool.
So Ladyship Warship will be playing there in November. He's not open yet, but he's going to be...
shooting for October 1st.
Yeah, it's going to be an amazing place. He gave us a tour and asked us to play, and so we're already on the books, so just waiting on it to open, but we're... excited to have a non-alcoholic bar. We know a lot of people that
it has
don't
a
drink
brewery next door. So.
Yeah, so if you do want to drink, you could just walk outside the door.
It'd be nice to have a nice espresso and see you guys. You're a little pumped up.
Well, they'll have I think sort of exotic juices and mocktail, like where they actually have a gin that's non-alcoholic. So they make mixed drinks, you know. So it feels kind of like that atmosphere, but you're not going to get drunk.
Right.
So, yeah.
Good deal. It's nice to enjoy the music instead of being too liquored up at times.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know,
so,
leaves a lot to be desired playing to a
home.
bunch of drunk people anyway. So
yeah, there you go. Berkeley Coffee. It's in Berkeley?
Yeah, Berkeley Coffee. Yeah, it'll be on Oak Park, which is across the street from Berkeley.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm still kind of learning my county
that's
towns. I hadn't got to travel too much. You know, I was telling Easy, I went up north with my girlfriend to Mackinac during the pandemic, which was nice, and there weren't many people, you know, in Mackinac and stuff like that. But I haven't got to travel as much as I'd like being here. But that's going to change.
Upper Peninsula is pretty big and beautiful, and
it is
not packed with a lot lot Right.
So no,
it's a good place to go and get away.
It's a long drive, though. You can almost go to New York.
Lots of coastline.
By the time you get to the UP.
I never realized how big Michigan was until I lived here. You know, I've played music over the years as well, and you know, being a percussionist and whatnot, and traveled. So I'd gone, played here at St. Andrews back in the late '90s, and then with this band, and then we went to Toronto and Montreal and different things like that, and didn't realize being in Michigan because I was only in Detroit at the time. In the late '90s, it was a little different. You know, being here, I remember I got downtown by St. Andrews, and there were kind of some boarded up buildings and things like that, which of course things have really come back, of course. But it was, I was like, wow, but it was still so much beauty, you know what I mean, here. But then living here now, and I guess realizing how big it is, it's a beautiful state, you know what I mean, and just so many beautiful lakes and so many things here, which is awesome, you know, minus Detroit being so beautiful. It's I don't know, the state's amazing.
It's a magical
in a lot of
state,
ways.
yeah.
A little far right for me up north, but we won't talk politics on this show. But it's a little different in a lot of ways. But then there's just so much spread outness of it that it's just I've tapped in with my girlfriend traveling, and we got a camper and
nice.
starting to be able to see things. Yeah, we have a '79 Venture camper. It's amazing.
That's awesome.
Cool.
Yeah, it's in perfect shape. And
Cool.
I guess this gentleman had it, and his wife had passed, and he took his kids to the Grand Canyon in it and everything. It was one owner, and his kids grew up, and he was like, hey, I'm selling it, and his wife had passed, like I said, and so
Perfect.
we've been kind of taking that out. It's been a little fickle for us, trying to get it up here and there, but it's been a pop-up but a slop-up, but we've made it on that aspect, and
Right on. It's
yeah,
a good way
man.
to see the state, for
yeah,
sure.
it is. You know, I mean, it's funny too getting up there a little bit. You see the campers and the RVs and things like that. So people take
You
their
kind of
things
have
out,
to.
yeah.
There's not many places to rent,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
I mean, now with the Airbnb thing, it's a little easier, but back in the day, it was like maybe there was a couple of motels or roadside things, but you were pretty much
Yeah,
just,
you
you were going to
usually
be
fill up quick,
camping.
too,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
people are planning their.
Booking a year in advance. You
Yeah.
have to plan your vacation way ahead of time.
right. We stayed at this hotel. Of course, there was nobody. This was in September of last year, so COVID was still kind of thick, and we stayed in Saint Ignace, I guess is I think the pronunciation of
Ignace?
it. Ignace, yeah, there you are. So that's right. I had a.
I like
talk-
Ignace.
Yeah.
Ignace? I don't know. Well, I went to there was a Catholic school where I grew up in the South that was kind of a rival, and it was Saint Ignace, that kind of thing. So I misspoke, I guess. But
It might be. No, you don't.
You're
that
probably
was-
right. The Michigan
Yeah,
pronunciation of
Michigan-
things is
that right?
is usually just nasal and
Yeah,
dumbed
Gratiot
down.
Avenue, it should be Gratiot.
Yeah, well, essentially, yeah. Well, it's kind of a French influenced
That was for
city, and
Melissa.
it was founded. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
But I've mispronounced so many things here. But we stayed there, and it was so beautiful. You know, our hotel, there was nobody there. You know what I mean? We took the ferry over. There were hardly any people on the ferry, and we enjoyed it, and some nice fudge. And I was telling you this earlier, Eric. It was funny because the week we went was the week that I guess the plan to kidnap Governor Whitner, Big Gretch, was going on. So we came back, and we took this private horse carriage. We went up by the governor's mansion, you know, that they get there and those kind of things. And their bikes were still out back. And the guy was like, I've been on the island 16 years, and the governor just took off the other day. And we were like, what's going on? Really? And then we get back, see the news. And, of course, there was a plan to kidnap the governor, which was kind of insane. But it was just so beautiful taking that ferry across and that kind of thing and seeing, I guess, where the French had settled here. And then I don't know, I grew up Catholic. I guess I'm a poor man's Catholic. I'm an Easter and Christmas Catholic for my mama, if you will.
Oh
these days.
yeah,
But
yeah. That's kind of the boat we're in.
yeah, you know, Catholic school my whole life and whatnot. But then seeing what Cadillac and what they kind of came there and then came down to Detroit, and I went to St. Anne's on Easter and those kind of things. But there was nobody there, and it was beautiful to have it kind of almost an island like on our own.
Yeah,
know
if
what
you
I
were-
mean?
Yeah.
So-
If you
That's
go
amazing.
up in the UP, it's not even really that far to Sault Ste. Marie is the old French settlement. That's from 16. What is it? The third oldest city in the U.S. I think.
Wow.
It might be.
Uh,
He just read a really good book that your mom gave you on the history of Michigan.
history. So I was like
Yeah, he's
Oh, wow.
it's
diving
really
into
interesting.
all this stuff.
Yeah,
about
imagine
how it
somebody
was settled
trying to
here.
settle here when you know how hot it gets in the summer, and just
Right,
like
yeah.
imagining like the settlers when they came, and it was just full of
It was
there was
all
no roads, it
trees.
was just trees,
Everything
like
was
and you're trying to
trees.
get
There-
through this
There was
humidity
more
and find a
millionaires
place
made in New York and Boston from chopping down Michigan trees than there were millionaires from California gold rush.
Wow.
to. Yeah,
And they
Yeah,
just
wow.
chopped the trees down and just said, all right, we're done, move on, because the trees like grew really true and straight, and they
Yeah.
were great for construction. So like the whole Midwest was built with Michigan timber, and then when it was gone, they were like, oh, well, okay, let's move on, let's move west.
Right.
You
Wow.
know, so that's why people from Michigan kind of have a little bit of an attitude there.
Right.
There's a little bit of that, like they sometimes don't trust outsiders, but then other outsiders
Right.
who aren't really outsiders. You're just you've always been in Michigan, or you just didn't know it yet.
brother from another
Yeah,
mother.
right. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
a
you're not here
Southerner,
to
but I'm
like
proud to
you
be a
know,
Michigander now. How
You're
about
not
it?
here to
So-
like gulp up all the water and chop down what trees are left. So
I am not.
you're contributing, not taking.
We're in the middle of an industrial center in a hot room watching
are.
a thunderstorm with you. I think we're in the thick of Detroit right now.
Beautiful. I appreciate that. Yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention that we're in the Russell Industrial Center, and I love it here. I haven't got a chance to be here much either, and
Yeah,
the
what a great
studio here
use
and-
of repurposing of space.
Right.
You
It's
know?
so beautiful here.
Yeah.
Just the artists and the people that rent spaces here and what they've done. I haven't got to do the what is it? The dirty. What is it? Wave Theater Bazaar, I guess, but that's more Masonic or something. And then you have the Dirty Show
Masonic.
here
Yeah,
or
we've
something
played.
like that.
We've played
Yeah.
a couple of
The
theater bazaars.
bazaar
Yeah.
Theater
is
bazaar,
something
yeah.
to experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've played a
I
few
can't wait.
times.
I can't-
It's amazing. You have to go.
I could try to tell you about it, but
Right.
you
Yeah.
have to go. I think a lot of people get freaked out by it because there's so much going on. And it's world class party.
Yeah.
I had
mean,
friends that worked and heard
it's
about the
nuts.
Yeah, heard about Bazaar. I can't wait. Like I said, I'd moved here and then I'd missed it initially coming up every other weekend for a year to see my girlfriend, that summer. And then, of course, obviously with COVID and that thing. But, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah, they're
Hopefully
holding
next
off this
year.
year.
The
Yeah,
first-
they said they're holding off this year, so
Hopefully
Yeah.
it takes a
Yeah.
lot of planning.
22. Oh, it's an enormous amount of work.
Yeah.
And being a band in it is a good amount of work too. We've done it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times now, and it's just
It's always a
sheer
blast. But
Volume of work
playing,
and people that
a show and trying to, be in a costume of some sort,
Right,
trying
yeah.
to be clever, but play in a costume.
I saw the
we
costumes.
did it all right.
and
Yeah, it was fun. Gets
friends
a little
I've met
crazy.
and, become close with, lifelong friends, like I said, present company included. They were telling me all about it, you know what I mean? Friends of ours in burlesque and friends of ours doing this and that, you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh man, I can't wait, you know what I mean? I'm like hungry for it.
Yeah.
But to be here now and then know that that's going to come.
I know.
The show's coming up
Something to look
here. The
forward to,
Roots are
yeah.
playing here next week, for Christ's sake, which is cool. And,
Yeah, that's what I heard right here.
yeah,
right?
tickets are $100, a little tough, but
Yeah.
hopefully Questlove is listening to this. He can be on the podcast. But I'm being
Yeah,
satirical,
come
but-
on the show.
Yeah, why not? But seeing those things and then understanding that things are coming back, and just like I said, being with the Russell and you guys playing and those things, here it's just like, once again, so much beauty in Detroit with things like that. How about this? Understanding Detroit. I guess the second week I'd moved here, randomly I was down at Masonic seeing some friends, and I met Martha Reeves, and then we ended up going to. It was really weird. It was surreal, in fact, because growing up and loving Motown and where I grew up, my mom, single mom, me, we'd be dancing around, listening to Motown and stuff like that, even before I went to school. And I was like, holy shit, it's Martha Reeves, But I met Tim and Eric from the Tim and Eric Awesome Show, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
And dude, I've been here like 2 weeks, and he saw me and he said, hey man, I love your style. Do you want a ticket? I was like, sure. And then we had some friends that were, of course, working at the Masonic, so we went to the show. And my girlfriend and I sat next to Martha Reeves because they gave us the tickets next to her.
Pays to look good.
What's that?
I said pays to look good.
Oh, man. Well, I guess. I don't know what just happened. They were like, hey, man, you look cool. I was in a bow tie for whatever reason that day, And,
you guys always look great.
Well, I appreciate you. And so anyway, watching her next to us laugh at like some of their dick jokes was hilarious. I mean, she was crying. She was loving it. And then we went backstage at the Masonic, and to be able to be with her back there, and she was telling these stories of being on the stage and just different things like that. And, for me, that's just the love of Detroit. You know what I mean? I mean, I'm here 2 weeks. I get to meet just
That's amazing.
a legend. You know what I mean? And she was telling me these stories, like getting stories from you guys and, and Danny last week and those kind of things about, she was like, everybody else went to L.A. She's I stayed here. I love Detroit. I never left. You know what I mean? And just the pride here, that means the world to me. And, talking to you guys about it, and like I said, I'm a Southerner, and I grew up down there. I was born in Nashville, Tennessee, and whatnot. But I am proud to be a Michigander now, and that means the world to me.
Yeah.
And
Glad
having
to
you
have
guys
you.
too, man. Well, I appreciate that. Well, guys, if you want to talk about, obviously, we're talking about the upcoming shows and that kind of thing, or any
Yeah.
kind of recordings you guys are doing. We obviously know about the show on the 17th and the 3rd at
We
the shop.
do. Yep,
But,
at the shop.
Yeah.
Ladyship.
First Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that
Friday.
September 3rd? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
September
Flamingo.
3rd.
The
at
show will be at
Flamingo
7 to
Beach.
10. Yep. Thank you.
Ladyship's working on a new record. We're doing EPs. We like 5-song EPs.
We like 5 songs at a time.
Yeah, we've decided 5's a good number
The
for
head of
us.
Spotify told us that's what we should do.
Right. There you go.
No, we got that, and then we got a few more shows coming up. Outer Limits in October.
Yeah, we got some things piling up.
Yeah, so
We're going to Chicago, where there's a fest that actually every now and again we'll play both bands. You know, that both bands get the call to play somewhere, and
Right. Cool.
we're like, yeah, we'll do it. So we're
When's that going to happen?
October 2nd,
Nice.
early October, in Chicago, Kaleidoscope Eye Fest. We've played it before as Warhorses, but a couple times. But we love Chicago. It's a great town
So do
to
I.
play. And but yeah, so Ladyship Warship's going to open,
Nice.
play early in the night, and the Warhorses are going to play last. And
Nice.
so it'll be a long day for us, but we're troopers.
We'll get down there for that. Should maybe travel with y'all. Huh?
Yeah,
So,
come on down.
Yeah, we'll
Hop
come
in the
down.
van.
Are you guys going to Riot Fest? You see that lineup this year in Chicago? I don't know. It's obviously a little crazy with everything.
I have
still
not.
going
No.
on, but
Well, I've seen the
Riot's
lineup, but
good.
no, we're not going. But
Yeah, just to go to have fun, you know.
Yeah.
But it's still a little scary, but
we did the
Yeah.
one in
Right, so-
Toronto.
The fests sometimes
while
get us a
ago,
little. I
but-
think we're getting too old for the fests.
Yeah.
I don't like being outside all day with that. They took my umbrella away. I was so mad. I wanted to just have my. I use it to
That was-
protect myself from the sun, and I
Right.
just that's
My
all I
umbrella,
wanted.
too.
I just wanted to be comfortable.
my
We were
good
going to be.
umbrella I gave you.
Yes, it was a good one.
It was
And
super cute.
It was like a New York
Super
fancy
cute.
umbrella.
You're fancy.
it was
You're
But,
Mediterranean. You're used
but
to the
anyway,
sun,
they
I'm sure.
it's like you can't have an umbrella because they think you're going to do something with it or
Right. of
I
course,
guess
I
you
know.
could just
There you go.
block somebody's
block
vision
someone's
with
view.
it.
I get it. I
Right.
was going to be polite with mine, but anyway. So yeah, you're just like there all day with nothing to.
Sweltering.
One day one fest we went to, and they ran
that
out
was
of.
like-
They ran. It was on an
was like a-
island in New York, and they ran out
It
of
was
money.
like a junior version of the Fire Fest.
Like there was the
Oh, wow.
ATMs were empty, and you had to have
They ran
cash
out
for.
of cash.
Yeah, so it was crazy,
and no one took credit cards, so
Yeah.
people couldn't eat.
I figured out a way.
That
I
was
went to
Farm
somebody
Aid.
that was buying a shirt with cash, and
Farm Aid,
because that was the
right?
only one taking cards, and I'm
Right.
like, I'll pay for your shirt. Give me your cash. And so yeah, we were starving. We needed to get food.
That's tough.
It was like a 2-hour wait for the ATM, and only to get up there and like 3 people in front of us. It's out of money.
Yeah.
There's no more money
That's
here.
bananas.
Yeah, and then we
You're on an island.
Then they sold like VIP tickets that nobody bought, so there was a whole field, like couple football fields of space before
Nothingness.
the stage. So it was like Neil Young looked, like this tiny little figure off in the distance, and there
Wow.
was like this. It was really bizarre. So
He
yeah,
was
we
even
kind of
small
got
on
turned
the,
off
The
by
Jumbotron. It wasn't really
large.
A Jumbotron. It was like a Microtron.
The Jumbotron saves the day these days. I don't know. I'd be like, oh yeah. I mean, I saw I was down in Louisville and what was that Louder Than Life, I guess, and then a couple different festivals down there. But I saw David Byrne, and I'd never seen Talking Heads or David Byrne. And yeah, he was
cool.
he was in the big suit, but he was a very little man on it.
Yeah.
But it sometimes saves the day. You know what I mean? But well, that's cool, man. That's really really cool.
It was the jumbo suit.
Sometimes it's
Right,
all
the
you
jumbo
get is the
suit.
fire.
Yeah, no. It was stop
I
making
think that
sense.
was a Willie Wear
Right.
suit.
Yeah.
If,
Oh,
I'm
wow.
gonna, if I'm gonna drop
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
names,
Yeah.
your umbrella was a Kath Kidston.
All right.
Oh, wow.
So, for those who
That's
are
what happens when you live in New York for a while, I guess.
down with the designers.
Yeah,
But,
there you are.
well,
So-
I was a fit model. I moved back to Detroit and became a fit model.
That's right. That's
Really?
right.
This
We
is-
could have
this-
talked about that for the last 2 hours. Thanks, champ. I
This
appreciate
is
that.
there's a Detroit company.
Right.
Speaking of how awesome Detroit is,
Right,
it's called
thank you.
Ash and Erie,
Cool.
and they make clothes for guys under 5'8", and I'm a little bit under 5'8".
Right.
So
Wow.
they reached out to me because I bought one of their shirts, and they said, "Hey, you're local. Would you be interested?"
So he
I'm like,
basically
Oh,
got
that's
to
right.
Oh,
get
yeah.
jeans like exactly how they would
They were like,
make a
"How does
pair and
this
say how's it
feel?"
feel,
You
and
know.
then the jeans
Yeah, it
fit
was
him
cool.
perfectly now. So
So talking about stuff going on in Detroit,
Right. Yeah.
and they went on Shark Tank and got
Really?
they got some investment money from
Yeah.
was it Mark Cuban, I think.
Jesus. Wow.
yeah, you can go
Yeah,
online
and
get
they're
this stuff.
they're still kicking butt.
Wow.
Hopefully for a long time, selling stuff and
Right.
keeping Detroit on the cool map.
Right. Well, that's amazing.
So yeah, they're down. Where is it? Where is their office?
So thanks to you, their clothes fit right.
Hmm?
Thanks to you, their clothes fit right.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my man, you're looking sexy in it tonight. I can tell you that. So we,
It's
you're killing it, brother.
it's me.
Right.
It's me.
Well, if we had video here, I'd, we'll get to that down the road. But
He's too sexy
maybe-
for that shirt.
Yeah, you know, You are too sexy.
It does not hurt though. It feels
Well, I love
great.
this flamingos, of course,
It's
and you're going to
flamingos.
play in the shop. And,
Oh, yeah, he had to wear that for...
Yeah, that's rad. Well, I appreciate it. Well, guys, like I said, I don't want to keep you, and I can't thank y'all enough for being
Yeah.
here. And
Thanks for having us.
thank you. Got the show on the 17th, and then, like I said,
Yeah,
we have the
and-
show at Flamingo Vintage
You
on
can
September 3rd.
check out Ladyship Warship on Facebook
Yep.
and Bandcamp,
Yeah.
Okay.
Spotify, Apple Music.
And we got warhorses.detroit.com.
But
Right.
you're not supposed to shop at Amazon.
No. Buy it directly from
Buy
us
it
on
directly from us
Bandcamp.
on
Yeah, I
Bandcamp.
think I would support you guys as opposed to
So
I
that
know
way
if
we
you want
can-
to do, if you want to
we
pay
can go to
$300,000 to do yoga in space, call Bezos. I guess if that's what's going on there. But you
No,
guys,
thanks
I
for having
really,
us.
really appreciate it. And like I said,
Thanks so much.
I'm in my
It was great.
infancy here, and to have you all as my second guest, I'm truly honored. So thanks.
We're
again.
honored to
We're
be
honored
here.
to be
Appreciate
the
you.
Thank you.
sophomores.
All right. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, y'all. Thanks for listening to my second podcast ever, First Fridays with Finn Formica. Once again, I'm Finn Formica. You can check out Ladyship Warship and their other band, Warhorses. But tonight, Ladyship Warship will be playing at Flamingo Vintage in Southwest Detroit. Shows at 7. So I'm going to leave y'all with their cover from the Laughing Hyenas, Gabriel. Get your ass up there.